Hey, you Christmassy, Christ-loving, carol-crowing crotch goblins. You're listening to the premiere of Season 2 and the 10th twat-tapping episode of Don't Spill the Popcorn.
Wow, damn, you turned into Jimmy Fallon pretending like all of the people that are on his show is funny. Well, hey, maybe you're onto something. And that's how you get the clap at the same time. All right, so what was the question? Crotch goblins are babies. I'm not even helping you, I'm just staring at you as you try to figure it out. I can blow bubbles with these holes. Dude, you sounded like you were so ugly in that moment. Like the most disgusting I've ever seen you. I'm not a very good censor for myself. I got the Don't Spill the Popcorn Season 2 notes.
My name is Dylan.
And I'm Joe Mama.
And we're two independent filmmakers who have worked together many years here to bring you honest, critical, and enjoyable movie reviews on exclusively new films only.
Exclusively. You can currently reach us with any comments, concerns, or corrections at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com or on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. The perfect directory to find us everywhere is from our website, www.don'tspillthepopcorn.buzzsprout.com. All of our episodes are live on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and more. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to join us on this wild ride. Also, if you enjoy this movie review podcast and would like to support us and back us up monetarily, you can pledge starting as low as $5 on our Patreon at patreon.com/don'tspillthepopcorn. For the lowest pledge, you'll get early access to every released episode, and we'll give you a little shout out on the next episode.
So our first movie that we're doing for Season 2 of Don't Spill the Popcorn is this whammy of a movie called
Christmas Bloody
Christmas.
Santa's back, and he's less human than he's ever been before. Everything is staying in tune with the whole robots thing. You know what I mean? It seems like the further that we go, there's more robot-y things, more AI kind of things popping up all the time now. It's like getting real weird with like incorporating a lot more robots are going to kill. Robots are going to have military-grade strength and are going to... I mean, even not too long ago, San Francisco's police department decided that they wanted to get closer to using robots for lethal force against criminal suspects after the city's Board of Supervisors voted 8-3 to approve an ordinance on the matter, dude. Is that not wild?
That's scary. That's some like iRobot shit.
They look like little ground rovers, but they have like these little arms and there's a camera up top and it looks like it's like holding a firearm or a turret or something in the front. They look like little mini tanks. Is there anything that you've noticed that's like come up in kind of like your gaze where you're like seeing more?
No, I haven't really heard of anything crazy.
Then if you haven't heard anything in a while, you definitely heard something with this movie because we have a robot killer on our hands. So we have Santa as a robot that's created to replacing some sort of type of worker that they are like saying on the news being like these filthy mall workers with these Santa robots is pretty much what the kind of the premise of how, you know, what's wrapped around with this movie. But Christmas, bloody goddamn Christmas, is completely entirely revolving around a robotic killer Santa. So Dylan, before we get into this fantastic and new movie review brought to you by none other than Don't Spill the Popcorn and our fantastic return, we were talking about something that was building up for a while through the podcasts that we did back in the past over the last year and a half. What was it, my friend? What finally happened? Tell them all. Tell the world.
We finally released Who's There? Just showed Joe the poster for it. Who's There has been out since October, but I didn't do a poster until just now because I wasn't planning on doing one, and Joe's like, do one. So I did one. So he just seen it before we recorded here. So yeah, that is out. You can check it out at Spookboy709 on YouTube. Again, it's called Who's There?
We're super stoked that we finally dropped that. We did put out just a quick little release trailer on the podcast here just to be like, hey, this is coming out, but we wanted to let you know again that we did it. It's done. This is what we've been doing for such a long time. It's part of our whole thing. That's why this podcast even exists, because we can't be close enough to be able to do films all the time. But that movie, Who's There, us making that film and us being separated and me flying up was actually what inspired doing this whole podcast in the first place. So it's cool to see where it started, the podcast here, and now finally after all this time being able to be like, hey, we did it, we released it, it's out, it's part of the YouTube ether now. Like it's neat to see, like looking at those words and being like, oh, this is kind of where it started, because we went out to see a movie together, and we end up what did we do? Get super baked, and then I dropped this, I spilled the popcorn. I literally spilled the popcorn, and we're brainstorming, and it was just such a big thing. And I was literally saying to Cameron right before the movie started, I was like, this moment is absolutely perfect. And he just looked at me and he smiled and he said, hell yeah, man. And usually Cameron's like, nah, this kind of sucks, or I'm bored, or is there something else to do? But for once, he was like, hell yeah, man, this is perfect. And then my dumbass just moves my elbow in just the right fucking space to lean back, and down goes a fucking extra large bucket of popcorn all over the floor. And that triggered me in my head to put as one of the names is like, you idiot, don't spill the popcorn. Like, I can't believe you made that huge mess. It's so fucking awesome to see it come back around. Yeah. So that's out there now. Obviously, go to Dylan's beautiful YouTube channel, SpookBoy709. You'll be able to find Who's There, real short, simple, and sweet, with a little bit of yuck and spook and ghost in there. So check that all out. That's some good stuff there. We had a lot of fun making it, and it also always just gives me a good excuse to go up and see his cute little ass.
Oh, with my cute little butt. I do have a little butt. It sucks. I wish it was bigger. Anyways, but yeah, once you're done with the movie, there's a behind the scenes bloopers reel as well, those are always fun to watch, because you're like, oh, this is fun. I just want to give a little laugh with them. Or there's like one section of the bloopers that just always makes me laugh. You'll know, peek. You'll know if you listen or watch it, peek.
And more peek. And that's the thing too, is it's nice that we do bloopers, because we're always doing like horrific shit. Or like absolutely fucking like just things that are always so gory or creepy or scary, or things that would make you feel uncomfortable, like some big fat guy rubbing Vaseline all over his body. I don't know who would have done something like that, but that would definitely make someone feel uncomfortable. And really the only way to break that tension is by dropping a blooper reel or just a nice comfortable behind the scenes video, so we're not fucking crazy. We're just artists.
Oh, just the face. I still love my parents' face when you did that, when they've seen that scene in These Four Walls, when you did that. It's just shock, complete shock, open eyes, like, what did I just see?
The only thing I think to this day that we fucked up was we should have actually had your mom come in to dance with me, and it would like flicker in between her, fading in between her and the actual picture itself.
My mom would have hated that.
I know, but that's the only thing I could think of to get her in there, to be able to actually have a reason for her to be like touching me and having to be there in that moment.
Oh my God, bring her in, do that, and then be like, just kidding, we actually didn't want it.
We don't even use it? We didn't even use it? Oh, she'd be so mad.
Dude, she would definitely be mad.
That would be killer. Be like, sorry, it didn't make the cut. So Dylan, it's been a long time, my friend. It's been quite a while. Everything that you guys have been listening to up until this point, for maybe the last 3 or 4 episodes, were all recorded almost a year ago. Coming up in 1 month, it will have been a year since we last did a recording of the podcast, which actually was Scream, that came before the last episode. Stick with me, folks. The last episode that we released. And it's just been this ongoing mix and mash and trying to find time. I was working 7 days a week, almost 10 hours a day every day. I finally got out of that, got some more time, was able to chill out a little bit. And then other than that, I've just been getting back into my game streaming, hanging out with my kiddo, building up money, figuring out life goals, building accomplishments, fucking trying to hang out with you as much as I can. We did VR shit together. That was so much fun.
Oh, yeah, dude, that was so fucking cool.
You, me, and Cameron, we did a sit down and we just chatted one day on there. That was super neat. And then not only that, but we all got to hang out and play games. It was cool. We really felt like we could like hang out.
Oh, and then the big screen, we can watch our movies or like other people's movies on like in a theater room together, like even though he's far away. I love it.
Yeah, the VR experience was awesome. I didn't and like I got excited about using one at first, but it kind of died out real quick for me. And then it's just a whole new thing when you get to actually enjoy VR with like a friend or a family member, and just those experiences have been incredible. They've been so much fun. It's almost real. Like it was so funny at first, just laughing because it felt like we could get so close to fucking like touching hands and like getting up close to each other's face, and it feels like you're really making eye contact,
flipping each other off and shit.
Yeah, you had the controllers in your hand, and then out of nowhere, like 20 minutes into conversation, all of a sudden you see me put up my middle fingers.
I'm like, how the fuck did you do that?
I'm just mind-blowing shit. It's a lot of fun. So if I suggest like literally like finding a best friend and getting a VR together, because it is so much fun. It makes for a great experience, and they kind of need the help because a lot of people aren't buying into the new shit that they're putting out right now, and shit is dropping. But tell me, friend, tell me, what's been going on with you? There's been some big life changes in the last year for you.
Oh my God, man. This last year feels like the longest fucking year of my life. And not in a bad way. It's been really like, I feel grateful, I guess. So biggest thing is we bought a house. We love this house. It's beautiful. We did. Remember all the struggle? Like that is another big reason that we weren't doing a lot of this, because I was still working. I worked on
finally, and you've talked about that on here.
I went from like after the pandemic started, when we first started this, I just went from like the craziest job I've ever worked on, really, to then another crazy job, one of the other craziest jobs, and then it kind of slowed down in a good way. Like I was constantly working though, and then every show after that started getting better. So I worked on a Chris Rock movie. I don't know when that's supposed to be out yet. It's based on a true story and everything. So that was cool.
Hopefully it's nothing like Spiral.
Oh, I hope it's nothing like Spiral. And then I worked on the Tom Hanks movie, which that was filmed in my hometown. Well, not my hometown, I'm sorry. The place where we were staying at the time in our apartment, and it was very close. So it was really cool. So work was just so close. And we were working in the middle of winter. We were on top of the houses and like really set this stage up for this. So it's really exciting. And then Mayor of Kingstown, which that was really fun. I like, there's a lot of things I got to experience with that show, and I just watched the first season and then went straight into this, so it was so cool. And both A Man Called Otto comes out in January, as well as Mayor of Kingstown, and that's the first time I've ever had two of the things I worked on come out at the same time, so around the same time. Actually, might even be almost the same day. So I was been super busy with that. Then obviously buying the house within all this, and that was a crazy market. You know, it was very last minute, and it was just like, okay, go, and then work on the house itself. There was a lot of, little things that we did here and there to really make it more homey. And then, so we didn't really have a lot of time to do, podcasts as much as we would love to, especially with, his schedule too. So right now, actually, I'm having my first break I've had in a couple of years, really, like a longer one. I actually don't know when the next job is, so that part's kind of scary, but I could take some more, I need some time. Mm-hmm. So we're really trying to take advantage of this time while we can.
Yeah, we're just going to try to do as much as we can, and we're going to continue to keep putting shit out whenever it's convenient for us. I mean, as long, obviously it's not good for trying to get new viewers when you're so far apart like that. But for the people that have been listening to us and they like what we do, I've seen those people keep coming back. I can watch the analytics. I can see where people are coming from, and a lot of the viewers are coming from all of the same places. So whenever we post things, for all of you people out there that do come back and do listen to us, this is a big shout out for you, because there's been so much space and so much time that's elapsed between these episodes, and I've kept seeing the same cities popping up, and you know what I mean, and the same numbers from those same cities, and it's just been really awesome and heartwarming, and we appreciate the shit out of that, because it's things like that that give us the inspiration to keep doing this, even though honestly, if not even a single soul listened, I'd probably still want to do this, just because A, it's kind of fun, and B, it just gives a perfect excuse to have lots of time with you.
Yeah, man.
Rather than blocking out space, because sometimes it feels it's so sad, but it feels easier to block out space to spend with somebody when you're like purposely doing something like, we are going to do this thing, even if it's just, hey, we're going to go out to dinner and mini golf and then hit a movie. Like, then you have that person's undivided attention for all that time because they're making time for that. But when you're just calling and having a conversation, like, it can just come and go, or it's like there's just so many different things. So it's great that we keep doing this shit. And it seems like that's pretty much everything from us. That's, seems super important to let you know over the last year. And I don't think that there's really much of anything else to say other than here's the time to introduce the movie trailer for
Christmas. Bloody Christmas.
The U.S. Defense Department has spent over $1 trillion on the most cutting-edge robot technology. Introducing RoboSanta Plus for the upcoming holiday season.
What are you gonna do this fine Christmas Eve?
I was potentially gonna go meet up with a dude. I've blown him off twice already, so.
Come on, get a drink with your old pal, Robbie.
What's up with you two?
Just grabbing a drink.
I talk her out of some Tinder trash.
You didn't talk me out of anything. To Christmas! Bah humbug.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
New animatronic state-of-the-art Santa Claus, featured at our own TW Bonkers, is now the subject of an international recall.
Santa?
What? This guy killed the kid next door!
Oh,
Do you hear that?
Or what?
You need to give me a gun.
what is that?
It's him.
Oh, Santa Claus?
Yeah, it's
Fucking
Santa
Santa
Claus.
Claus!
Have you heard from the boys down at the scene yet?
They're still down there counting bodies.
The brief description from IMDb is, it's Christmas Eve, and Tori just wants to get drunk and party. But when a robotic Santa Claus at a nearby toy store goes haywire and begins a rampant killing spree through her small town, she is forced into a battle for survival. Categorized under the horror genre, this R-rated rock and robotic, marvelously murderous film thus far has reeled in a 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb, a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.5 out of 5 on Shudder. One 5-star review said, "Great Christmas horror!" exclamation point. If you're looking for an Oscar-nominated Christmas horror like so many of its predecessors, then this is not for you. Obviously, joking, but the way people are rating this, that is what they're looking for, This movie is an absolute blast. I saw the trailer and thought it looked awesome, but it totally exceeded my expectations, my dude. The acting is actually really good, and I thought, sure, they say the F word a lot, but that's how a lot of people normally talk. The effects are great, score is amazing, especially the Lethal Weapon type music after something dramatic happens, and honestly, might be one of the most enjoyable and fun Christmas horror movies ever.
Hyperbole, please.
The crazy part about this review is it is the only 5-star review on IMDb.
And one inevitable 1-star review said, "If you like the F word, this is for you." If you like extremely bad written dialogue, actors that are so bad at acting out that horrible dialogue, annoying first-person perspective views, and no character progression, this movie's definitely for you. I'm having a hard time watching this for consistent F-bombs alone. So many Fs. F, F, fucking F. But the dialogue is just cringe. Conversations that sound like they're written by someone who's never had a real adult conversation before. The actors are clearly in this project for a quick cash grab. That boring, generic lack of emotion bullshit. There's no character progression whatsoever, and every character from the beginning to end is forgettable after 5 minutes. Whatever this says, TLDR, boring, forgettable, and bad. Boy, that was a tough one there. Both of those reads were kind of tough. They both had a lot to say.
Mm-hmm. But they both had merits.
They did. They certainly did. Some of the main faces in this film are Riley Dandy, an actor known for That's Armor from 2022, Kappa Crypto 2018, and A California Christmas, another Christmas movie, City Lights 2021. Another actor, Sam Delish, or Delish, either way, Sam, I apologize, an Australian actor of Croatian and Dutch heritage. His upcoming slate includes the first original Australian Disney Plus series, that's a pretty big deal, Last Days of the Space Age, and the second season of the hit series, The PM's Daughter. Any of the movies or shows that I've mentioned so far sound familiar to you? Do you know any of them?
I don't know any of these people on here. I know the one actor, the Jeff Phillips dude, but as far as these things, I've heard of, what is that one? Mystery Science Theater, but I don't know if that's a different one than what I'm thinking. I feel like there might have been an older version of that one. I'm not sure, but yeah, really nothing here is, nothing's standing out to me here.
Yeah, so this is coming from a section of films that have been released that for whatever reason never managed to reach our eye. And so for the last main face that you may be familiar to you is Jonah Ray. Happens to be an actor and writer known for, like you had said, the Mystery Science Theater 3000 from 2017, How to Deter a Robber in 2020, and Better Things from 2016.
And you don't know any of them either?
Not a clue. Sorry, guys.
Not even the people?
No.
No people, not the movies, nothing?
Nothing. Not even the director.
Speaking of director, this film was directed by Joe Begos.
I love that name, dude. That's such a cool name.
That's how you pronounce his last name? Begos?
Maybe. If it does, it sounds...
I'm begging you.
Sounds like a mafia guy.
Okay.
Don't mess with Joey Begos.
Begos came up with the idea for Christmas Bloody Christmas while pitching a remake of 1984's Silent Night, Deadly Night, which I thought was pretty cool, but I felt that watching this movie. So, I mean, that's any Killer Santa. What are you going to do? Suggested that the murders could be perpetuated by a Terminator-esque android. The pitch was rejected for straying too far from the original film, which makes sense. But however, Begos continued developing the idea and wrote the movie script during the COVID-19 pandemic, so he used his time wisely. Good for him. Actor Abraham Benrubi was chosen to portray the Killer Santa, as Begos didn't want it to be performed by a stuntman due to like the differences in physique and stuff like that.
So that's a cool little behind the scenes on where the director came from for this film.
Well, and two, I'll say I looked up the director just to see if I knew any of his other work, but he hasn't done much at all. Like Christmas, Bloody Christmas, Bliss 2019, The Mind's Eye 2015, VFW 2019. That's what he's known for. 5 movies and like a short and a video, it says.
I think that it might be best for me to give some general thoughts before I accidentally spill the popcorn, because I'm starting to feel like I want to spill the popcorn.
I'm nervous because IMDb is asking me to rate them already. Like, give me a minute.
Whoa, slow down, IMDb.
I'm not done yet.
Take me out to get some dinner first, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, you gotta wait.
Jesus. So my general thoughts for this one, I feel like it's hard to generalize my feelings on this, because not that they're super strong or that they don't really push too heavily in one way or the other. I felt like through the movie, I was kind of playing a tug of war with yes and geez and yes and oh boy. So I was riding a roller coaster throughout the movie, but I kind of enjoyed that, because I don't like when I just have a funnel of sugar getting sent down my esophagus and I'm just getting bloated with good vibes and good feels, and it's going in the direction and it's oohing and it's on and it's twisting and it's turning. it's nice to just kind of maybe get surprised every once in a while, but also maybe be like, this has, because it did have a very indie feel to it. There was a lot about this movie that really felt like it was a bigger production to indie movie, which, I mean, maybe that's what it's considered in some ways. I don't know. I'm not very good with the terminology. But overall, I would say that I had a lot of fun with the movie. I had actually some good laughs. I think overall, the acting was good until it needed to be dramatic. I think that that's probably what my biggest striking point on this movie would be, was I felt like the delivery was great when they felt like they needed to be natural actors in the movie, but the second that it felt like anything needed to be dramatized, I felt like that's where it flopped a lot, which is actually maybe in parts of the movies where it would have been more important to really nail that dramatic acting on the head. But, I mean, how many times in horror movies over the years has the dramatic acting just fell through a fucking black hole? And, whereas everything else, maybe even the story or, the way that it was directed in the camera angles and how the story itself builds or whatever it is great. But then the delivery kind of falls off the wagon. So all in all, I guess that's what I could pretty much give for my general thoughts. I think it's worth a watch. I think it's a lot of fun. It has some twists and turns and unexpected things. And it even, I would even say, no pun intended, that it drags on a ways longer than you expect it to. Just when you think it's over, it's just getting started. What about you, Dylan? Hit me with your general thoughts.
I think you said it. Like, you always seem to say it. You should not go in front of me, because when you say it, you're just like, I'm like, yep, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Like, you hit it. Like, the tug of war. That's perfect. Like, one moment you're like, it pulls you into it. The next moment you're like, you're pulling back. You're like, wait a minute. The only thing I would have to actually disagree with you on, though, is I actually thought the acting was better during the dramatic scenes than when they had to act as like couples or like flirters and like just their people that they were being and friends and just their normal acting. But sometimes it worked for them, but sometimes it just seemed so over the top, and I was just like, that was the worst part of the movie for me, was like the whole beginning. Sometimes it just became very cringy, where I was just like, holy shit. But once it got going, and like there's this dramatic switch, which we'll talk about it in the spoiler section, but there's this dramatic switch in the movie, and it has now my full attention. There are some bad choices still trickled without this. But like Joe said, this is an indie film, I'm assuming. I can't find a budget on this movie. I looked, but I'm not seeing what they paid to make this.
The same company that released it is the same company that made it, like produced it.
So Shudder did.
Shudder, yeah.
Do you have Shudder?
No, but I'd seen that it was advertised to actually be put out on Shudder, and then you could see at the beginning of the film that they tagged their logo in the beginning.
Oh, so you watch it on a different platform?
I watched it on AMC Plus.
Oh, you can get it on there too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's cool. But yeah, so I think that, like Joe was saying, I think the movie is worth the watch. It's fun. There's funny moments in it. There's just some badassery moments. I think this is not a spoiler. I think the lighting is fun. It's a really fun looking. It feels Christmassy, and it feels it's interesting. Very rock and roll.
It's got a rock and roll vibe to it for sure. It's got a little bit of an underground rock and roll kind of vibe to it, I would say.
Which I'll go into details about that scene too in the movie or in the spoilers. But yeah, I think it's fun. I think it seems a lot bigger for an indie film. There's a lot of it's kind of actiony. It's pretty insane, but it's just it just feels bigger. But it's gory. It's sexual.
Oh, definitely sexual.
Very sexual.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I guess, I don't know. It falls under so many categories. If you love music, especially like rock music and shit like that, I feel just for that alone, you'd almost love this movie because the soundtrack is so much fun. And then they talk about songs and shit. And if you love horror, it's great. If you love Christmas, it's awesome. If you want a love story, then this is the wrong movie for you. You really, it's just,
you sound like the reviewers.
So exactly. This is my my general thoughts. So, but yeah,
you're the 3-star review. There's the 1, the 3, and the 5.
I fit right in between. Like I am grabbing both of those reviews, and I'm like, yep, that's That's it.
Hope IMDb's not listening. The mouse, you see your mouse moving to the 3-star.
I think it's 10 on there, but yeah,
It just turns into a Ouija board. Like you have a Ouija board mouse pad. It just moves over.
oh, that's funny as hell. Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's our general thoughts. So without any further ado, it's time to get into the spoilers section where everything goes and everyone knows.
The film features 487 uses of the F-bomb with an average of 5.6 F-bombs per minute. Just wanted to throw that at the beginning.
It is a lot.
That's a lot. 487.
But you know me, I say fuck a whole bunch. And I'm sure the listeners know I probably say fuck a whole bunch too. But so it like went right over my head. Like even seeing that review before watching it, I was like trying to tune into the fucks when I was listening to it, but they went right over my head because it flowed so casually. I felt like in the conversation, like it didn't feel like they were forcing the fucks.
Okay, but see, that's where for me, I felt like it was for like it wasn't. I'm not like offended by it. I'm like I don't give a fuck.
Right, but if it's too much, it's too much. It's not about offense. It's about.
But it just sometimes it stands out.
So it did stand out for you.
It did at points. Some of it, I was like, yeah, I would totally have said fuck in that moment or said it the way they said it at that moment. But then there's times where it's like, I don't know, fuckity fuck. Even though I have said shit like that, but I don't know. You know, it was just one after the next.
Well, that's the thing is if you really are noticing it and you're not being a fucking stuck-up pig about it, you know, it definitely can affect it because it's kind of like that thing that it's like you don't hear it until you hear it. It's like, I don't know, like buying a car and you never saw that car, anybody driving it. Now all of a sudden that you bought that car, you see that car everywhere because it's in your focal point now. You know what the car looks like, you're looking for it, and it's there. And so you can't stop seeing it. I wonder how many fucks. Maybe we should do a fuck counter on in our episode
on how many fucks we have on here. I wanted to do a death count on this one. I was trying to like kind of count them as.
Oh yeah, I was hoping you did because I lost count. Yeah,
I lost count. Well, because you can't really count because there's a scene where he just like must have killed all these people off screen at the police station or whatever at the scene, and so you don't know how many people were really there. But I would say he definitely killed more than 10, at least 10. Outside of that group.
I was feeling like 12, but I lost count at 8. And I like just was like, ooh, is this 9? Is this 10? I don't fucking remember.
I feel like we should be more prepared.
It was tough, dude. Well, I had to rewind it a few times because I was like, what the fuck just happened? A couple times in this movie.
Can we just go over them real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, let's just go through. So we can go into detail about them. I guess that would be a moment of going back, but like just like say just real quick, like the first one would be the couple. So that's 2.
Yeah.
They're the first ones that died, though. We had who would have been next.
The next time that he started killing was when she got into a car and left, and then they went back to her place after they went out to the bar and shit, and he's walking up the road, and you're like, is this her house or is it not her house? Because she said she doesn't like Christmas, and this place looks awfully fucking decorated for somebody who doesn't like Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too, because her like the driveway even had lights in it. I was like, what the fuck?
So I thought that they were going to trick us where they made it look like the Santa was going to be going to fuck her up, but then when he came up, then it was going to be, you know what I mean, some other people and not them. And so it was like, oh, you tricked me, which they did and they didn't, because it was like this weird multi-homed house.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is there was a point where she heard the shit going down in the other house and it sounded like it was like right outside her window. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh, that pissed me off too, dude. Because she heard the boy.
Yeah.
She heard the boy like yelp, but it was like the audio that they put in was way too fucking loud.
Yeah.
And it was like, no way did you hear that through that window all the way the fuck over there. And then all of a sudden be like, oh, I think Santa's they're doing a thing. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, so while we're here, so the count. Okay, so we're up to 2, the couple. Now we're gonna have.
Yep. And then we got the boy, his dad, his mom,
and then we have some weird neighbor guy that's like, "You hit my car," so we'll count him.
Police officer number 1 and 2, the sheriff and his deputy, the black police officer that tried to take control of shit.
So that's 11.
Oh shit, 11. Tori's sister and her husband.
Oh yep. Holy shit. Yep. Okay, and then that boyfriend guy,
Robbie,
14. I don't know why boyfriend guy. I was just
name game. Dylan ain't got that name game.
Wait, let me scroll back to my IMDb. There we go. Hey, there's Robbie.
Cheat code. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was calling him coworker in the whole on all my notes. The whole time he was coworker.
Until you're like, oh shit, that's more than coworker status.
I was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, it's fucking. It's me boy Robbie.
What are we at for 13 or 14? 14.
Yep. So 14.
14, and then obviously then there's some kills off screen that we have no idea about. There's gonna be somebody that's gonna message us and be like, you fucked up because you missed one.
And that's fine. Send it to the corrections department at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com. So do you want to just fucking, I mean, we're on the kills. We're already here. We're fucking talking about some of the ridiculousness. So, I mean, do you want to just kind of go through them? We just named them. They're on the mind, so we don't forget them. We're able to think through to them.
Yeah.
So let's go to the first ones. Obviously, Santa comes to life. We all fucking know this. It's the same fucking shit that you see. They talked about it in the beginning that, hey, Santa Claus is going to be taking over for all these bums and smelly cunts that are working in the malls across the world. Want to get rid of the creepy guys that are getting boners and shit when the little kids are sitting on their laps getting too drunk and shit. With these robot Santas who are going to be perfect and apparently going to change the world with their happy, happy, joyness, and they're taking away jobs and getting rid of the creeps, supposedly. So knowing that, now also I think that I heard on the news that they uploaded some sort of defense, like military defense firmware into the Santa Clauses.
Well, that's what that's from. That's what the Santa Clauses are made. Like they are made from the same stuff that the defense systems were made from, like the same design, but into a Santa Claus.
Because I glanced over that real quick where they just, when they got to that bar after they were done hanging out with the guys and they went over to that bar for the first time, and that was the first thing that was on the news, I think, when they were in there, and she was like, shut this shit off.
Yeah, like the whole, like the beginning stuff. Well, that's, you know what's funny? That Santa Claus has 90,000 words, over 90,000 words it can say. And it doesn't say one, but ho, ho, fucking ho.
Yep. Almost nothing. Yeah. It knows all these words, but then it just they made him just talk like a normal robot. And he was very like opaque and stoic in all of his movements, his actions, like the facial expression never changed. Like they didn't sell it that this was a Santa Claus that was ready to pretend to be Santa in shopping malls across the world. You know what I mean? Like, he would have been more expressive. He would have acted more like a Santa Claus. Like, you know, maybe he was in default mode where he's just must kill because, like it said, the director, Joe, wanted it to be kind of Terminator-esque. And Terminator was not very expressive whatsoever. But the way that they set it up was that he was supposed to be the embodiment of fucking Santa Claus, which is supposed to be the most jolliest motherfucker who's ever lived on the face of the earth.
Now, what did you think of his look? Did you like the way he looked? Like, not like his stance and everything, but like, do you think he should have looked different, like less human?
Depended on the camera angle. Because there was a few like far away angles with a zoom in that I was like, this looks so stupid. Mm-hmm. Like just it was zoomed in and it was real grainy, but also like I wanted him to look a little bit more rubbery. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he looked too human-y. And then when he like looks, sometimes he just be like he just like his eyes they don't look fake. His movement on those
beautiful, stunning blue eyes. And it said that the director wanted it to be an actual person, like doing the movements and, you know, like an actual actor doing it and not a stunt man and, you know, trying to keep it clean and not doing any real extra shit, you know, until they started ripping his skin off and he had these like his mechanical shit showing and whatnot.
And holy fuck, that looked cool.
It did look cool.
That shit looked cool as hell. But we'll save that.
But overall, yeah, I'd say that I wasn't the biggest fan of his look. He was like kind of skinny. He was real tall. He was kind of like a Slender Man Santa Claus in some way. But then with like like you said, too realistic in the face. Would have been nice to have a little bit more of like I mean, obviously they were going for. It was weird because his look was humanistic, but his actions were still very robotic. When you would almost think you'd rather have it the other way, where it's like his looks were still kind of robotic, but the way that he acted was very human.
I feel like he's still kind of human-y. Sometimes he looked robot-y, but then there were some times where I'm just like, it just looks like a fucking guy walking.
There's very few shots where I actually thought that he looked intimidating or scary. That shot at first when he was coming up the road there, and then all of a sudden he was walking in front of that house that was all lit up. That was a badass shot.
Oh, I love that shot.
Killer.
Love that shot. I actually wrote that down because of lights and everything. It looked Christmassy. He looked creepy.
Yeah, they were effective about that a lot. But there were definitely a handful of times where it kind of sucked you out of it because you were like, ooh, cheese whiz.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of cheesy with some of the artistic liberties that they took, making this. Whoops.
Or there was just too many times where you could have done something different. Where it's like, I know they always say that, but this is one of those moments where you're like, you really could have done something different.
For sure. So was there anything else about him other than like kind of like, very human face and eyes that you would have changed about him? The movements, the way that he kind of traveled, the way that he looked at people, just obviously you said the dialogue was kind of an issue.
I mean, I don't care. He didn't have to say anything. I'm just making fun of the fact that they advertised that he had 90,000 words, but he didn't say more than ho ho ho.
Yeah. It's so silly, but that's so good to point out though. So then now that we have kind of we got our feelings out about Santa Claus, obviously the last thing we were talking about was the killings and the murders, and we see him. We got an introduction to why he was even in the store in the first place. And so Tori, the woman who we now know owns this fucking record store that has, where we find out she owns it and Robbie works for her. He's on her fucking dime. They both happen to have friends that own this fucking toy store that happens to be holding this Santa Claus. And so they want to, Tori was going to go on this Tinder date. And so the guy that works for her talked her out of it, all silky smooth, trying to play it cool. I think he did fairly well. A lot of the guys that are trying to play the cool guy usually annoy the living piss out of me. And there were definitely some things about him that did irk me a little bit. But for the most part, I felt like he did it well enough that I was like, okay, this isn't distracting. And, he kind of, especially because they don't seem like they're coming off as couple posers, because a lot of their dialogue is going back and forth about the intricacies of different music and film and how they feel about the arts and records and timeless shit. And you could tell that he had, some of it was kind of jokey because they're just like tropes that are typically like, that you would be shit talking with other people that listen to that kind of music, where you're like, oh, you probably like this at this era and when this happened, and this is a bunch of shit because when Sammy Hagar came into Van Halen, then all of a sudden the greatest guitar player in the whole world just turned into a psycho synthesizer player. Just stuff like that like that's shit that people would fight about, and all of it was like legitimate. So that was one thing that I was feeling like with Robbie, that it made me feel like them going back and forth felt more legitimate because it sounded like they knew their shit. So they had something to be a little bit more, it wasn't prudy or pretentious, but it was just like two people that knew their shit that were like bickering about, like that was good for their banter. Now I feel bad though, because I was thinking to myself, the second time that they went to the bar and they were talking about even older shit than that stuff, then I got the perspective of, oh my God, if I didn't know really what they were talking about in the first set, I would be like, I don't give a shit about what you guys are having all of this conversation about. For us to be getting to know you is like you throwing out all these references that has nothing to do with you and would only make you interesting to me if I shared those interests with you. So then I got a nice hard taste of that the second time around when the stuff that they were talking about again didn't vibe with me. And so I was like, I'm so lost in this conversation and it's not really doing anything for me because most of it is revolving around all these references. I love references, but there was almost all of their banter was references.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, did you get any of that reference? Because I don't know music really. So like, I don't know those references or what they were talking about. So for me, the whole time it was nothing. Like I didn't understand anything. I was waiting for them to, like, even the movie stuff, I got that, but they talked so fast. They did so much. I'm like, let's talk about you guys a little bit more. Like maybe that was fine for a little bit, but it was too much at this point. And you guys should just concentrate on making your characters more developed in that moment.
And that's why it's funny that in the beginning, in our general thoughts, that's kind of where we mixed and matched. That makes a little bit more sense to me now, because there was a part of like the friendly banter dialogue that wasn't dramatic that I appreciated because it made sense to me, where it was like you were like, oh, I'm lost in this nonsense, I just want to get to know you, not about all this shit that's actually in my life that I've heard about that I've already not looked into myself, and now you're trying to force it on me in this conversation when I'm just trying to figure you out. Frustrating. But so that's why it's like, I saw that as more of the stronger suit because I connected to it, opposed to the dramatic part where I was like, oh, they were falling short, because it almost seemed there was so much shit happening that it was almost impossible to really like pull off the pain and the suffering or, whatever, what have you, feelings that they should be feeling in the moments when things were happening throughout. So that's why I had the taste of it the way that I did, and you got it the other way, because I was like, ooh, conflict in opinion in the beginning, because we, you know what I mean? That's where when you were like, I do have a disagreement with you, I was like, oh, no shit. But that makes sense now, because, yeah, I think that it was good at first, and then, like I said, I got a real healthy dose of, oh, man, I almost feel like the friend that showed up and doesn't get to talk because all they're talking about is cars, and I don't know shit about cars.
For real though, that's. But even during their movie talk, I know movies, and I knew the movies they were talking about. But they, like I said, they just talk so fast, and they just had a way of doing it where you're just like, I'm bored. But I still believe their character in a way. Like I could see them, but sometimes they were just their people. The people were just obnoxious for no reason. They just felt like they were They were just playing extra.
Yeah, I agree.
That was my biggest grief with all that. And that was throughout the whole film. That's not just the beginning, but the beginning I really noticed it the most, where I'm just like, come on, awkward.
And I didn't like how they introduced the sheriff, because it was like, who the fuck was that? Well, first it was like, who the fuck is this? And then he leaves, and I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Because she's being so playful with him, but he seems dead to rights fucking serious, and I could see the trooper patch on him. You know, but he just kind of stumbled in, said some shit, paid for their bill, and fucking outbroed Robbie, and then bounced.
I thought I was like, are we supposed to hate this dude?
Right. Total mixed feelings.
Is there a brawl gonna happen? Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. It's very, very puzzling. But obviously, most of what they did was they just introduced him and showed, for later purposes, that he had at least a little bit of a relationship with Tori. Like they were well acquainted with each other for the most part, because she was very, very playful with him when it seemed like he was being dead serious. All that stuff was, I mean, that's mostly what, like I said, a lot of the dialogue revolved around, which was kind of, you know, if you didn't get it, then you wouldn't be able to be into it, which is kind of a risk. It's a real big risk, because it shortens and makes the circle of people that would want to be paying attention, really narrows it down to a real niche kind of people, because you can listen to a little bit.
I had the same thought yesterday.
Just a little bit, but then the more that it goes in, it's like, oh geez, like I'm really out of it here. Like if it was up to me, if I was sitting down in this room, I'd probably try to start talking to somebody else.
Even the music, like but you knew that
they talked about Soundgarden, Metallica, you know what I mean, all that shit.
So you could have had that conversation with them. You could have been like in the same moments and like back and forth with them.
Definitely, no, and I would have been laughing. Absolutely, yeah. For the first one, but the second one, like I had said, when they were talking about other shit and like arguing when they got back to her place and stuff, some of it I was like, I just don't know.
I need an adult.
I don't know what's going on here.
But that's how I felt. What about when they went over to the couple in the toy store where Santa was?
So that brings us back to the killings.
That was confusing.
At first, it definitely was, because I didn't really know what they were going to be up to. Like, you know, he was trying to kind of swoon her out of going on this Tinder date, like we were saying, with this guy that they were like talking mad shit on. Like everybody knew that he was like 5. What was his name? It was Emmett. His name was fucking Emmett. It was like five kid Emmett or some shit like that they were making fun of him, that he was like this dude with eyeliner and 5 kids, and you know, you shouldn't go out with him. He needs to be spending time with his kids. Don't take him away from his kids. Shit like that was great.
So that banter was fun. That was fun. I like that. I like that it was her employee too. That was cool. Different.
Yeah, it was a different, and she was like, you know, a do-it-myself bitch. You know what I mean? Like she's a boss, like a boss bitch. You know, anytime that there was anything going wrong, she was the first one to be like, I have leadership skills, let's go.
Yeah, she's very independent, and just like, I loved it.
Yeah, and I think that her being a business owner and like setting that up did her well to be able to follow her character, and it makes sense why. Because there's sometimes in movies where I'm like, where all of a sudden did your balls grow from? Like, you like, I didn't see any of this from you this whole film, and then all of a sudden you're the hero, you're the guy or girl who's gonna step up, and all of a sudden you save the day because you got this.
I hate that shit.
Yeah, it's like somehow the Rugrats make a movie and Chucky turns out to be the hero,
like a flip of a switch,
when he's the one that's like, guys, I don't think that this is a good idea. Trying to get out of it, worrying about Melville.
I don't know.
So yeah, the toy store. Yeah, it was kind of weird how because you didn't really know if they were going back to his place or if they were going to a bar. But then you kind of quickly found out that they were friends, and they happened to stop by along the way, and they were just pre-gaming with them as they were closing. And they kind of prefaced it a little bit before they went, that, you know, but like I said, the banter was like quick. You felt kind of lost, and then by the time you caught up, you're like, oh, wait a second. Where are they going? What are they doing? Why are they doing this?
Like, that's where some of the acting, I felt like they just improv too. I feel like there's a lot of improvisation dialogue in this. I could be wrong, but that's how it feels sometimes.
Yeah. If it felt like it, but if that was the intention, then good on them. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. They probably could have did better banter if that's what it was. Or at least if they were going to do it, they could have at least chose those parts to stick with the script if that wasn't the script. Unless the script was worse, which is that's a whole nother thing.
Oh my God. See, it can go, a movie is not just one person or one thing. It is everything around it. One thing could change all of it.
We live in a world now where people who are just kind of independently wealthy based on their success are like starting to try to make movies now. And they're like realizing when they're making movies that they're like, wow, I got to give the people who do this shit so much credit, because I don't know how most of them don't completely go insane for all of the little detail that goes into doing every little part of a movie. And it just, some people edit a movie minute by minute. They'll do a minute for hours. We'll work on 1 minute of a movie for hours, and then that's it for the day. We'll come back tomorrow, we'll do another minute. And doing that through all kinds of things: audio, color correction, video effects, visual effects, whatever it is. It's like it's just such a strenuous, long, tedious process that requires a lot of focus and a lot of self-hatred and self-doubt that goes into seeing something so many times. It's almost impossible to have good eyes on it, because you have to be in it so much that you almost lose what the magic is about it, because you've seen behind the curtain so damn much. It's crazy. It's a lot of work. Crazy work. So it's sometimes with games too, I have a hard time talking shit on games, because I know that it is next level shit on the work that needs to get done to put a video game together. And to be able to sit there and be like, it's trash. It's absolute trash. That's a tough place to be in.
I don't think I hate on any movie or game to the point where I'm just like, that is just so bad. It's not. Yeah. No, I'm just like.
Where it's like, yeah. It's shame on you. Shame on you, sir.
Yeah. It's like, you can't tell me that there isn't something you can find good about something. Everyone just is so fast to turn to dislike something or think it's lame or follow suit with everyone else.
It's in our nature.
Because everyone else thinks it's shit, so they think it's shit. Just if you fucking like it, you fucking like it. Who cares?
It's that tribal mentality. They just want to fit in with a tribe, and then they dig their heels in because they want to stick with the tribe. And if you're not in the tribe, fuck you.
I just want to be my house. I don't keep me away from everything and everyone.
Man, that's some 2020 talk if I've ever heard it.
I know, dude. Got me stuck in here.
So we're in the toy store. Obviously, they meet. All that shit has come together, and that brings us to seeing and hearing Santa kind of scruffling a little bit, and that's when Tori first opens up and says, I hate that thing. Just straight up emotes this thing is gross and annoying, and I do not like it. It's creepy. It's stupid. I can't believe they're doing this. So that's kind of, it doesn't take too long for the Santa itself to get addressed by the main characters that we're dealing with in the movie. And it doesn't take up till too much longer after that before Santa comes to life and he starts wandering around, and the couple that owns the toy store is kind of talking about some things. You don't see them too much, and they actually have some shots that are very far away from them, and they're just kind of in the distance, deep in the background. I kind of liked that a little bit, but it actually took my eyes a minute to be okay, they're talking, but I don't fucking see them.
Yeah, no, there's some chasing of where people were sometimes in some of the shots. Where am I looking? Oh, okay, they're there.
There's definitely, the more that we talk about this, the more exhausting it felt like it took energy out of me to watch this movie, because there were moments where it was I had to do some extra shit to be hanging on board.
I think that honestly, half of the movie was the music and lighting for me. I like the way that, I don't know. There's a lot of things I love about this film, but there's a lot of things I don't. And I think the things I like is all aesthetics, the lighting, the fake snow, even though sometimes that fake snow is just foam. It just looked foamy even outside and stuff. But I give him credit because I like a lot of snow like that. It made it look really cool and creepy. But all the lights, all the different, the practical lights, on the houses and stuff, the Christmas lights, and then the actual lighting with all the reds. And sometimes the reds were way too dark. And then the music, I was just so big. The music sounded so big.
It's so big. It's so big.
There were some great grooves in there. Like the last like long jam that we'll get to that kind of built up while that little dirty
Dude, I
vagina eating scene. I'll word that differently.
Are we talking about that now? Because Jesus, I need to talk about that soon.
Well, no, we'll get there, yeah. But like the way that the music intensifies during like when they're doing a contrast of sexual stuff going on while also murder was going on, like that jam was sick. But there were a few points in the movie where I realized all of a sudden where I was like, the music is too loud. Turn the music down. Because it just built up so much that it actually started going over the voices. Like it was weird because the music would come in and it's at a good spot, gets a little louder, amps up, nothing wrong with that, and then it just keeps swelling. And I noticed that it keeps swelling and swelling. I'm like, is this getting fucking louder? Is this getting too loud? It is too loud. It happened so quick. And there's probably 2 times that I wrote down where I was like, music is too loud. Turn it down. You're drowning it out and it's becoming distracting. There's so many distractions in this movie, but it's also fast-paced at the same time. You're trying to pick up so much along the way.
At first, it was slow. It was really slow. And I don't even know how long that was. It could have been short amount of time because when things start to pick up and actually go, they just go from there for the most part. It's just constant. That's one thing I'll give this movie is after you get through the first part of this movie, like the first quarter maybe, it's just go, 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 go. And it's a short movie, 1 hour and 27 minutes. That's not that long. So it's just a lot in it, though.
Won't talk about it too much yet, but the way they did the ending made it feel like a long fucking movie.
Yes, dude. It did feel like a long movie.
I agree, though. Once it ramped up, they definitely, it kept on par. Like things continued to ramp up along the way. And it was like, okay, we're escalating here. And it felt pretty good. It felt like they were taking you on a good ride there. So let's go back to the toy store once again, to just kind of go over the killings. Let's go through the killings because that'll help us chop through a lot of this is by just getting that out.
I mean, at this point, it is pretty much killing, so we can just jump. We just kind of had to get to that point. Now we can go ahead. Okay, so let's go for the first killing. So first off, Jay and Lana are fucking. They're fucking right in that store.
Which they also talked about. Tori was talking about, don't you want to fuck in a toy store?
And so but they did it. And unfortunately for them, Santa is a little watcher.
Oh, yeah. He's a little peeper.
A little peeker. He's watching him.
Peek. He was peeking and more peeking.
Dude, that shot, though, of him, his POV was a little much. It took me out, too.
Dude. That's exactly where this begins right here, this killing, and them giving that first-person perspective the whole time was too much.
It was bad.
Makes him not scary. If it's not scary, if it's me.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm killing now? That's me? I'm the killer? I'm not playing a video game. I'm watching a fucking movie. So I didn't enjoy that. A little bit would have been nice at first when he's waking up. You know what I mean? When he's first coming to.
Yes.
And he's like, being like, oh, I'm Santa. I'm looking around, taking things in. After that, then it should have been a lot more like around the corner, coming back from a fucking, him coming out of some darkness into some light, maybe seeing seeing some robot eye colors until he comes into the light and then his eyes look normal. It would really help amp it up a little bit, but it took away immediately. Like, I wanted this guy to be scary so bad because when I read robot fucking Santa killer, I'm like, great, here comes the cheese. Cheese whiz on your fucking soft pretzel right there, and it's like a soft pretzel with cheese whiz. As much as motherfuckers will say that it's delicious, you honestly know that you're mostly just eating it because that was the closest thing for you to buy at the mall and you're starving because you didn't eat all day yet.
Tell us how you really feel.
That's some shit, right? That's some shit. So it was unfortunate that they did pull off that first person. I'm glad that they didn't really do it too much more, further after that. They did kind of cut it out.
See, this is what I think. I think if they would have done that later on, after we've already said, like you said, make it creepy, do the eyes in the shadow change thing, like that's really cool. I think it would have been cool to kind of have him in the background a little bit, like you said, sneaking around. Build it up first. The first one can be creepy, and then once it starts getting more actiony, do that first shot. You can do that one time. But I was nervous because we were stuck in that POV, and I'm like, are we going to get this every time? Because that's going to suck. And then on top of it, he does finally kill Jay with an axe. He gets an axe, kills Jay.
And are they in Missionary and he's on top? And it's like his bare back that he slices into? I had a hard time seeing what the fuck it was that happened. Because you mostly hear the girl screaming and then she runs away.
I think they were doing doggy style, or she was facing him
I think we were supposed to see her seeing him over his shoulder while she was on her back and he was like going at her missionary on top of something.
But she was more standing though, kind of sitting up.
So they were boning. Typical horror movie fucking.
So he comes over with the axe and just somehow slices down his whole body from his head, like and so cleanly, like an axe head that's skinny chops down in the middle of this body. I don't get it. I don't. That was bad. It looked bad. I was like, oh, we're gonna have some bad kills.
The first kill too. It was like, oh, come on. Yeah. And then how did she die? I don't remember how she got killed. What happened to her? I don't remember.
She goes to run out the front door. Remind me of Horrible 4. She tries to go to run out the front door, and then Santa comes up behind.
Yeah, and to her own place. She's locked into her own fucking business as if like...
Crazy. I loved that. That was cool. But then she ran away.
That's wild.
Somewhere else, I think. And then he ended up grabbing her or knocking her down and then grabbing her and just slamming her head a whole bunch of times into that glass case.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I was like, when the fuck is this thing going to break?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That was pretty heavy. But the camera angle was rough, though. You didn't, like, the way it felt like it was real close quarter camera angles where it was like you were only getting the outside of what was happening and not a real good look at it. And it wasn't like a scary kind of like, ooh, I can't really see what's happening. It was a, hey, I'm trying to see here kind of camera angle.
And then also that's where the lighting kind of isn't always the best either, because sometimes with all those colors it's harder to see things. So it's unfortunate. It's in their benefit because then they can hide things better and it makes them look better, but sometimes it's too dark so you can't really see anything. But it was fine. A forgettable kill. I was like, okay.
So now that you just brought up the lighting again before we move on to the next kill, one of the things that I thought of for some reason, anytime that I see those like blue and red neon lights, the first thing I think of is Fear Street now.
Dude.
I got some Fear Street vibes from like all the neon lights from like the houses and the inside of the record store and all that. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm really getting some Fear Street kind of vibrations.
I need to watch those again.
It's been a long time now. It still kind of feels like yesterday, but it's been a while.
Those were fun. Those were super fun.
Yeah, the lighting and throughout it gave me a little bit of Fear Street vibrations.
I love the way the town looks too when they're walking, because this is when Tori and Robbie are walking down the street, and that's when they hear her and they think that they're just having sex, but she's actually getting her head slammed into that glass.
Yeah.
I love the way they made the street look. I love just having like, it's kind of desolate. No one's really around because everyone's doing their Christmassy things. It's snowing really hard and everything's all lit up and beautiful, and it's just like this stretch, just this comforting thing, but you know that this other thing is going on. It's just about to build.
Yeah, made me miss the snow. I miss you, snow. So then who's next after after Jay and Lana end up dying, then those are the first two toy shop owners that get crushed. And then at that point, Tori and Robbie are coming back, right? When after the bar situation. Gets into the car. That's when her and Robbie go back to her house, and Santa creepily follows them around, all sketchy, fucking Jason-y, fucking Michael Myers-y, kind of sketching around, creeping and crawling behind them, and follows them all the way to the house. And of course, that's when they kind of did that, making you feel like he was going to be coming right into their room, coming right up to them right away, but also making you question if it's even her place. I mean, maybe that was just me. I think that you said too that you were kind of questioning if it was actually her place.
It was questionable at first until she talked about the neighbor's house, and she's like, oh, they always fucking decorate or some shit.
That's right. Yep. And that put that together then. So it's showing him coming up with that badass shot that we were talking about. Santa's first stop on this night.
Did you see Santa behind them?
A little bit. I think at one point you do see Santa kind of creeping up.
I didn't see him, so that's why I was wondering, because that'd be creepy. I would love to. That's why I was wondering, because I didn't know how or why he went to their house.
Only at first, but he was trailing behind pretty far, and they only saw him like catching up after she had when they drove off in his car after she was talking shit on him for having a fucked up car, and then he's bitching about her not paying him enough money and stuff like that.
Oh, maybe I did see it then. Okay, yeah.
So then he ends up following them somehow. I guess there was only one road that went in one direction all the way to their place. Apparently it was a nice easy walking trip for him, walking distance, no problem.
Santa's a robot.
So Santa comes up conveniently, somehow takes this apparent must be an easy to figure out trip, and Santa's first stop on this fateful night happens to be Tori's neighbors.
These first couple kills at first weren't that good. So this is kind of when the kills start to get a little bit better. So Santa goes in to the house, neighbor's house, slams into the front door, breaks the fucker down, like you boom, boom, boom. And all the father does, or whoever that person is upstairs. So this is just one family, right? In that house.
Yep, just one family. It's her neighbor's house.
The father is upstairs like yelling, "Oh, this better not be you," or "What do you want?" But it's just like, dude, someone's slamming your door, and that's not just somebody fucking around or knocking on your door. Like, but anyways, they meet, make eye contact, gets an axe to his back, and then he crawls away.
Yeah, he just fucking chucks it.
Yeah, dude.
Chucks the axe, dude.
I love it.
I was so surprised. I was like, holy shit, he just fucking threw the thing. Just
I actually forgot I forgot he threw it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chucks it.
I'm sorry, guys. I watched the movie yesterday.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
I'm kind of getting remembered. Yeah. It's so much better when it's fresh on your brain, but
if it wasn't, I'd be fucking it up big time.
So that's why. Thank you for refreshing my mind. But yeah, he chucks it. Oh, dude, that was. I like that.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. Right out, instead of just doing stabby stuff, he just boom.
And then the blood just cut the way the blood was gushing out and stuff, and he's crawling. Meantime, it's cutting back and forth as he's trying to crawl away up the stairs. You go back and forth from, Robbie explaining how he can lick a ditch the best anybody else can.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so pretty much just proving it, and gives Tori a little show with his mouth.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is that music part that we were talking about that's like starting to build up, and there was such a groovy tune. Like it was just this nice steady jam that was going on in the background that was fucking tight. I liked it a lot. It was a solid music choice to have behind it. It did get very fucking loud, but this time that one didn't get unpleasantly loud because it climaxed at the perfect time.
Climax?
No pun intended.
Yeah. But that isn't this the moment though? This is a moment.
Yeah, that's the moment. That's when because they went back. This was after they went out and they went to the bars and they got plastered, and she finally decides, after almost not going because of the car door supposedly, unless she was just fucking with him, was going back to the apartment, and she said, I'm not fucking you. I asked you to come back to get drinks or have some more to drink, and that was when the fun time started going down, and they really kind of worked their way through that, like all the way up into the point where he's had her stripped down and his shirt's off and he's flexing at her and shit, and he fucking pulls the panties aside and dives right into her.
Dude, did we see for real like that really happened though? Like
it looked like it was. I mean, unless they might have put something over top of her privates, you know what I mean? Like like for the sake of him being able to get in there, like they might have put something over top of her for him to put his face into. But I mean, maybe they both decided to say fucking and just do it, because from time to time that does happen where they're just like, let's just do this. And
especially more lately, you see that a lot more in movies and stuff like that.
Like I've heard actresses like request, not off the scene, like literally when they're about to be like saying like action, I mean, they'll be like, if you want to just put it in me, you can.
What?
I've heard stuff like that from, I can't give any examples, but I just remember hearing throughout some conversations that there were definitely like some actresses or actors that were like, we're already here, we're in this moment, let's try to knock it up a notch. Like if you feel like you want to, just put it in me during the scene, like, you can do that or whatever the fuck.
What the fuck? Is that true? I feel like that's not true. Maybe in a lower budget. I feel like in an upper budget, unless it's for some reason asked for, or they're like, I don't know. I don't see that actually happening in real life.
Maybe. Who knows? Especially like with a lot of the scenes that they have where they're like under the blankets for the most part. You know what I mean? Like half their lower half is covered by blankets, and they're just trying to ramp it up.
But them two didn't have sex though.
No, he was performing conolingus.
That's probably better than saying licking a ditch.
It's wild shit. But yeah, so this is the part where the music ramping up with Santa Claus, robot Santa Claus killing this family while also working on Robbie and Tori having a little bit of fun time, which they build it up both a lot. There's some parts where it felt a little bit awkward, where the camera was on Tori for like a long time, where it didn't they would cut a lot of stuff kind of quickly, and then they would leave it on her for like kind of an awkwardly long time, where it wasn't bad, but it was just like, well, if we're going to keep the pace, like we kind of keep going on slow motion when we kind of get back to her. I mean, and I can see what they're going for, but I didn't think that it worked for me. But overall, the whole segment was fine.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't, surprisingly, for it going back and forth, it didn't take me out of the moment too much. Like I was still like in with like, okay, this guy's dying. He's crawling on his, the stairs at the same time. They're doing their thing. And I'm like, holy shit, this is getting crazy. What's going to happen next?
Yeah, it's building and building and building. And that was, I'll have to give that to them for sure. That worked pretty well together like that. And in the middle of all this going on, the dad obviously got the axe thrown at him. He dies, chases down the mom, ends up, and this didn't look good on her. Like they had that shot that sat on her when they had the axe.
I know.
Like, poked into her eyeball. I think that was a bad look. That didn't look good at all. It looked really bad.
I know.
Yeah, but I think that was probably like the worst of the shots of like all of them. I'd probably take that moment there where it just didn't look good enough. It didn't look viable. That like even Goodwill wouldn't resell that shit.
I still feel like the first kill is pretty rough.
But at least you didn't see any like faces or reactions that was like, oh, that's bullshit.
True.
Like amongst all things going on, like where you look at it and you're like, Jesus, faking Christ. Like
I'll tell you the most fake one for me in a minute here. It's coming up. It's coming up next.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy though was I was like, oh man, I don't think they're gonna do this, but if they do, I'll happily give them some brownie points for going for it because a lot of people won't go for that.
I know.
Like, ooh, I hope they do, but I don't think they will.
We're in a different time though. Like you've seen it, like Halloween 2018 has done it. Not this young of a kid. Well, the newest Halloween, I don't want to, no spoilers for the newest Halloween movie, but do it in that movie too.
Yeah. Well, on Fear Street. I mean, they didn't show quite as much, but they killed some fucking kids in 1978 or 76 or whatever, whichever one it was.
78.
Yeah, they killed all kinds of kids in that. The bodies were stacked up. They were all lined up, dude.
Dude, that was pretty dark. That was heavy.
That was another axe killer right there.
Yeah. Actually. Reminds you of the colors. Wow, we keep going back to Fear Street here. But yeah, so here comes, like you were saying, you didn't expect this, but you were hoping that they'd do it, give him brownie points. I watched the trailer. I unfortunately already knew that he was going to do it. But I still kind of question it, but it sucks because the trailer gave it away because they're like, oh, they're killing that kid over there.
Oh, you knew that was coming. Oh, damn.
This kid's cute. It sucks that he's going to die because, from his probably hero thinking, oh, it's Santa, even though that kid.
Dude, that was what was fucked up about it was the kid was young enough to think, oh, nothing's wrong. Santa's actually here. Santa's real. Everything's fine. Nothing to freak out about. No stranger in my house. I know Santa Claus.
Exactly. That's why I was like, oh, my God.
I kind of liked his voice, but then he turned around and like his facial expression and just the way that he looked and the way that he drew his line out. I was like, oh, shit. Bad child actor. God damn it.
Yep. I thought the same thing. And he didn't like his clothes. He was disappointed about them. So Santa didn't like that.
Yeah, he's like, clothes again. Stupid clothes. Which, that is kind of like a stupid little haha. We all hate getting clothes from our parents on Christmas. Like showing that they didn't put the Santa stuff out yet. They put the parent stuff out because they always mark the clothes from the parents and then they get the good shit from Santa Claus.
Oh, I do it the opposite way. Santa gives you clothes. I got you that iPad.
I'm going to make Santas look like shit. And me, with my hard-earned cash. Where do you think I go every day, bitch?
Exactly.
I'm making that money to get you that Tonka truck.
You're the real hero. The parent's a real hero. This kid is disappointed about this clothes that he got, so he turns around. Santa's like, you know what, fucking kid? Sucks to be you. You're being spoiled. So he chops him with the axe right on his collarbone area. And then doesn't he chuck him?
That was the part that I was kind of fucking confused about. I had to rewind a couple times because I was like, okay, so what ends up happening is they're all like hiding, down towards the ground because they all, find out that Santa fucking is killing somebody and they're like, fuck, we need to hide. This isn't good. Goes down, wakes up her sister, wakes up her brother-in-law.
I think that scene is when this takes like the whole movie changes for me at this point. Not even before, like during the family killing, the kid killing, cool. But once they realize it's happening and they're like in this house trying to hurry up and get the people awake, get things out so you can get the hell out of there before this Santa the guy comes over. It's like the music is different. Everything has changed at this point. The movie feels different. And the lights, we'll get to those lights when they go. I keep talking about the lights, but when the red and the green, when Santa's like stalking around, it's so creepy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got momentum really quick. That things started moving along pretty nicely after that point. And like you were saying, yeah, if it wasn't for the kid killing, that whole first neighbor house killing would have been like, nah, all right, we're just kind of warming up here, I guess. But the kid killing really ramped it up, and then they dove right into it right after the kid killing because like we were saying earlier, like for some reason out of nowhere, like everything's normal, and then she's like, "Oh, did I hear something?" And you like can actually hear it in the movie that it's like way too fucking loud.
He's like right outside of her window,
clearly. And then she goes over and peeks out the window, and then there's Santa Claus chopping into the boy or whatever it was that he was doing. But the part that fucked me up was when, you know, he passes the window and they think he's going to come in or whatever, and then he passes and he comes back and smashes through the window. But I thought that he used the axe to smash through the window and jump in, and there was this body that falls through, and I'm like, where did this body come from? And then all of a sudden Robbie's laying on the ground and he uses the body for protection, and I was like, who just died? Who just died that Robbie's going to be using this body, to just put in front of him as a shield? Like, who did he just sacrifice out of one of his friends or whatever here to save his life? Rewound a few times only to realize that Santa threw the fucking kid's body through the window at them to break it. How fucking insult to injury is that? Like, not only did they go the extra mile to kill this kid, but Santa uses him as a tool to break open the window. And then not only that, after Santa chops into him with the axe, just flops his kid body over, just looks ridiculous, just flops like a fucking dummy across the room onto the couch. Looks so stupid.
That looks stupid.
I laughed out loud.
Me too. That part looked terrible, but
hilarious.
I laughed too when he used the body as the shield.
Once I realized what it was, I died. I was like, holy shit, that's the fucking kid. He just took a kid's body and just, fuck, I need to use this. Gotta use this carcass, this child's carcass. And then just flings it. It flops over. Hilarious.
Dude.
So that was the first set of killings right there.
And then after that, it's the brother and sister, right?
Just keeps moving.
Yeah.
Yep, just keeps moving. I actually enjoyed how he killed the sister. That looked pretty good for the most part. It was kind of quick. It was kind of simple. It was just a real fucking hard snap of the neck. But I liked how the blood looked on her.
Yeah,
the blood looked good there.
That's the one where they twisted her neck, right? And then her bone was out.
Yep.
Hanging out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was effective. Kind of made you go, ooh, because of the cracks. The cracks always make you go.
And then for some reason, of all of the killings, they decided to kind of gloss over the brother-in-law getting killed.
Up the stairs.
Yeah.
Off-screen kill.
Yeah. They just kind of cut away from it, went into darkness, didn't even really hear anything from him about it.
Well, he screamed, I think.
That was about it. It just was like, oh, we're not going to see this one for like no reason. Like we're on a killing spree here, and we're going to skip over one of the deaths in this movie.
It took me out of it. Same way. I thought the same thing, but I could see where it's also partially effective in the way that what you don't see, you're hearing his scream is kind of like, oh my God, but you're more concentrated on them guys getting away. Like at this point, it's a run situation. Like we've seen some killings. It's like, if we want to catch up with the other actors now, gloss over that. That's creepy. Now get away. I don't know. I'm still with you. I'd rather still see it, but
it kind of bothered me a little bit that there didn't seem to be any hesitation from any of them about like trying to save anyone or trying to protect anyone. They just, anytime that shit got rough, they just left him behind. Yep. It was like, see you, good luck.
No, they just ran.
I'm looking out for me. Fuck you. They're supposed to be family. She's trying to cry about her sister dying after she just let her fucking die. You know what I mean? Like, I get that you probably should run, but at the same time, you would think that you wouldn't leave somebody that you'd make that big a deal about dying behind. Like, you'd try to do something at least.
Yeah, stick behind until they get out or at least, because did she see the death? I don't think she's seen the death. She already ran before.
I think she was gone. She just knew she was dead because she didn't follow them. As they went along and they didn't catch up, it was easy to assume that Santa Claus does his job.
So yeah, now we're outside. They get outside.
Yeah, so now at this point, now they're trying to make their great escape, and the classic car's not working, and they're freaking out, but they did get the car to work.
They back up, and then they start sliding on the ice, right? That's what they do. They slide, or they just keep backing up, and he's just backing up like a crazy guy.
Yeah, backing out, hits this
guy's car. The guy comes out, and he was like...
Yeah, he gets all pissed and shit. Dude's coming out, what's going on?
I just fucking painted this goddamn thing. Whatever.
Yeah, and he actually throws some shit at their windshield, like just because they're not getting out. He fucking breaks their front windshield by throwing, I think it was a flashlight or a beer. Yeah, breaks the window, and they're like honking. Like, could you imagine being that close in front of somebody and like how angry you would get if someone was just laying on their horn like that at you?
Yeah, dude.
Like, hearing someone's horn just instinctually pisses me off.
I hate it.
If I was already mad at someone for hitting my car and they were just honking the horn, Like, that dude was distracted as fuck. And then it actually was pretty smooth that Santa was just coming up behind him and fucked him up while they were sitting in the car having to watch him get smashed up, and he had no idea. I mean, it was kind of, it was cheese. It was cheese.
But yeah, no. And then what was cool about it is after he died, I forget, how did he kill him at the beginning? I know he throws him into the car, but how?
Yeah, he just straight up axes him.
Just axes him. Okay, yeah, in the back or something.
Yep, just axes him and just tosses him through the front windshield. This is when the first cop shows up and tries to help them out and starts shooting at this fucking Santa Claus.
Go back, because I'll tell you how that guy dies. We can't just skip how he dies.
Oh, right on. Okay, so then this is the point where, they're beeping at him, they're honking at him, all obnoxious and shit.
And Tori and Robbie are honking and yelling at him to, behind you, look behind you. Santa comes up and takes the axe and just splits his head in half.
Oh, that's right. Yes, and when he pushes him in, you can see the split head in the car.
Kind of like the last guy, but decides to stop at the neck. It's like, I'll let him just be split. And it squirts all over them, and they get all bloody.
Ew. That was good. That actually looked good, too, for the most part.
That was a fun one. I was like, oh, that's fun. And then they go flying back, and that was realistic. That probably would have got me going all nuts for a minute. And then they hit the tree. That tree bang, I'm telling you, dude, my bass is up on my
Ooh.
On my sound system and stuff.
Yeah.
And I felt it when they wrecked. I was like,
ooh, it was a big boom.
It was just, I felt it. It went through my whole body. It was nice.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like you felt it in the movie theater where they had all those speakers fucking rumbling. Glad we remembered that though, because that was actually like super fucking. That was probably one of the better ones. Was just like the effects of how he died. Yeah, that's so crazy that I wasn't that was the first time that I honestly wanted to feel like I gave some kudos for them finally giving a little bit more of a juicier death. Was it got a little extra gory, and he just slices right through his skull down into his neck, and his head just peels open like a fucking banana, and then he throws him into the car, and that's all nasty. That would fuck them up for sure.
We have a lot of car stuff going on in this movie. Like, there's a lot of damaging of cars and things. Like, that's some big budget shit there for a low budget movie.
For sure, yeah. You don't just go around fucking up cars, and you only get one shot really to do it.
Unless you have a really big budget, you might have one or two duplicates, but
it's still a risk. It's one of those risky shots where you're like, fuck it, we're gonna do it. Because if you mess it up, it's gonna cost you.
Although there was a CGI shot with some of the fire on the ambulance. You could definitely see it was fake at one point, but it looked pretty real. Once, it didn't track well at the beginning, but then once it tracked, it wasn't so bad.
I didn't really pick up on that, but something felt off about it. It was one of those moments then for me that I was kind of like shifting between my notes and looking up, so I probably missed where it was kind of catching up with itself, like you were talking about there.
I know. That's why I love typing. That's why it's so hard when I'm in theaters, having to write it out, because I'm like, I can just look and type.
So we're at the part now where the guy that got axed in half dies, gets thrown into the car with them, and they get all messed up, and they're all messy and shit.
And then they freak out and they fly their car backwards and they hit this tree, and that's when we get that big woof. And then I'm at this point, I know Tori's in the car. I don't remember how Robbie gets out, but somehow Robbie is by Santa or gets out to I think hits him with something maybe.
For whatever reason, neither of us remember why Robbie got out of the car, but Santa just takes the opportunity at hand, and the person that we were kind of getting connected to more opposed to pretty much everyone else in this film, his face gets wrecked. Santa just axes straight up into his face, and his whole face divots in. And there's just something weird about when you know somebody or a person, or you get to know somebody, or you just get familiar with somebody's face and just see it deformed and fucked up like that. It makes you feel all yucky inside. So I liked that they did that too.
I thought that death was probably one of my favorites because
it's pretty gory. Probably one of the goriest ones as far as how it made you feel.
And it looked pretty good. And like you said, it's something about a character you're starting to develop and know more. Anytime someone gets decapitated or something done to their faces, it's always a disturbing kill. It's always it's
like dehumanizing somebody.
You're almost not human anymore. Not even because you're dead.
Right. Now it makes you a creature, just because you're distorted like that. Yeah. Cacas. It's all split open.
Yeah, no, it freaks me out though. I don't like that shit. It that disconnect. It's weird.
And then this is when that cop shows up and shoots the living shit out of Santa. And this is kind of the first time where we're like, well, he's probably not dead, but we'll see what happens when he comes back up. because I didn't think by any means that, I didn't see how far in the film it was at this point, but I didn't think by any means a couple shots were going to take this dude out. But he was laying down for a hot minute. And this is where the dramatic acting was about to come in, where I was like, oh, I'm not feeling this. But it started to come back in where I was feeling it again, where they started arguing with each other about what was going to be what. And, when it became more angry rather than disturbed or sad or depressed or shocked, like any of those emotions never really showed up for me. When it was like excitement or anger or playfulness or flirtiness, all of those I feel like were for the most part pretty solid check marks. But when it came into those heavier emotions, it just felt empty for me. But this is kind of where it first started, where she got a second to breathe because supposedly Santa was taking a break because he got shot down and the cop was trying to cool her down. But even the cop, like him just like putting his arms out, kind of looked like Frankenstein, like holding her, like being awkward and giving too much space and like saying things that felt like he was reading it off of a condolences card instead of actually just saying how he felt. That wasn't good either.
Yeah, there was some moments of that, but like you said, I think it came back a little bit more where you're like, okay, like hostility, anger, acting, like scared, but also like pissed, like listen to me, shit's going down, and everyone's just yelling. But then that's what it turns into. Everyone just yells for so long afterwards. They're just like,
because it builds up, and then there's nowhere to go from there. There's nowhere to go. It's just you're there. You're at 100, so you have to go all the way back down. So that, like we were saying, the argument, and they were ramping up, and as they were getting in each other's face, here comes Santa, coming around the bend, gonna fuck you up. He's staring you down. He really doesn't look that creepy, but it was kind of creepy when he rose up at first. I was like, ooh, but then he just stood there, and I was like, oh. It's like, for some reason, you're not scaring me. And then he approaches them.
Yeah, so the cop shoots Santa off the car. Then Santa grabs a shotgun and he shoots that officer, I believe, in the face, right in the face, and like explodes his head all over her. That's where she gets the bloodiest, from his head. And then she takes a cop car because she shows up, and dude, she's driving down the street, which I think is awesome. She's asking for help on the radio and everything like that. But I'm like watching her, and she's like, the windshield's off. And she's driving down this highway. I'm like, oh, that looks miserable. You're all full of blood. It looks cold and windy.
Fucking speeding fast as fuck. Totally insane. Most of the people that you know are deceased.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
And so we meet now Monroe and his deputy, which is like just oversold being like pissed, like angry cop guy.
Officer Smith.
He was too fuck you, I don't believe you, get on the ground, fuck you, spread your shit. You got some explaining to do.
Dude, that's where I was saying he was annoying. I will say though, Sheriff Monroe, I liked his acting, which like I said, I've seen him in other things. I don't know, I just like the way he played off of everyone else's and just kind of like trying to be more chill about it. And I don't even think it's necessarily the character, but just like I said, the way he portrayed that character, the way he just did it well.
Yeah, he did. As far as like, besides his like, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck was that guy moment towards the beginning, he paid off.
And then after that all like subsided, it was like maybe she's onto something. Just like, let's hear it out.
And so at this point now, we're kind of out of the sights of Santa Claus. We don't really see him for a little bit here, and they bring it all the way back to the police station, and so things kind of slow down. They're ramped up, but they kind of slow down as far as like pacing goes, because now they're sitting down and discussing things. And at this point I was kind of unsure of how or where the movie was going to go from this point. I was like, okay, Jesus, take the wheel, and I was like ready for them to actually, I was like, it kind of got me settled back into like, okay, take me somewhere, baby, take me somewhere new. But things kind of slowed down a little bit, and so I was ready for them. It actually put me in a place where I felt comfortable enough to be like, okay, things are gonna change. We're gonna, hit it up and see where this goes and see where it takes him, because maybe Santa disappeared by the time that the cops got to the scene. You know what I mean? They were like, oh, maybe, it was kind of getting set up like they were going to believe that she did it the whole time, and the movie was going to end up with her getting fucked, and then, she gets locked in prison while Santa keeps fucking killing people. Didn't end up going that way, and actually it was a very quick, immediate shift where the deputy went from like being ridiculously mean to being like, all right, let's go, and then comfortable enough where she's able to just take the gun right off of him and be like, well, you point and you shoot. That kind of shit.
Dude, I wrote that shit down. I was like, I told Cameron, I said they would never in real life would never give her a gun. Like, she has no training. She'd be more dangerous in that situation.
Especially like coming from the guy that was being a complete and total psycho hard ass on her the whole time and just like, here, yeah, no problem. I'm not mad anymore. Ha ha, protect yourself.
Right. I didn't like that part. That was stupid. But I'm glad she asked for one, though. I'm not saying that was a bad part. But like, good for her for trying to like give me some shit, because I would probably have been the same way.
Still sticking up for herself. And it was funny that she kicked off that little Santa bobblehead off of his desk, and he was just kind of like, I get it. I was also like, really? They're going to have her sit in there with all that blood on her face and not have her clean herself up first before she would sit down and talk? Like, only afterwards was he like, yeah, go clean up.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm going to make some coffee. Go clean yourself up.
That's exactly what I thought. Then she had the opportunity to clean it off, and then she got high. That's right. She went in there ballsy as fuck. They were already just bitching about her driving drunk, I think, when the shit just went down. And then she goes in there to smoke a joint, which I think they were also bitching about that too.
Well, right when she came out, that was when they were like, okay, we just got new news. We're getting out of here. Let's go. You stay here. I'll lock the place up.
I'm going to tell you, Cameron said the same thing. In no situation would I be, like, if I was in their situation, I would never think, you know what? I'm going to light a joint. I'd be like, I need to be as sober as I can fucking be at this moment in my life. But yeah, so she runs out without even cleaning the blood off of her face. And she's like, all right, give me a gun. They give her a gun.
Yep. And guess who's coming our way? Good old fucking Santa in the ambulance.
Kris Kringle.
Yeah, Kris Kringle star. Fucking Crinkle. He's coming in the ambulance. Fucking wee woo, wee woo.
So then he comes in the ambulance right into the fucking car, but the car just splits in half, dude. It just cuts in half.
How did he know? How did he know where the fucking police station was?
How does he know a lot of it? How does he know where they... Because there's no way when they were walking home that he would have followed them.
There's some serious holes here and there for sure.
The ambulance comes in. Santa driving ambulance. Busting through these cars. Cuts them in half like they're already sliced, but that's okay. Catches on fire. That's where the CG fire happens. A little bit of CG fire going on in the ambulance.
What does he gives another entrance. Dude just loves flinging bodies, my dude. Tori was staying inside and the cops were outside and Monroe went to pursue him and Santa killed his ass and then chucked him over the ambulance right in front of them. Like Monroe goes behind the ambulance and then they just chucks his body. They don't even show his death. They just chucks his body over there. And so the deputy's like, oh shit. And then Santa's walking at him and he's shooting at him. And Santa just pushes him against the ambulance. Shit's getting real sexy. Turns the barrel up to him, trying to turn it all Kurt Cobain style.
Jesus Christ. The shit you say sometimes.
And fucking shoots him right up under the jaw, into his fucking head. Makes his head go boom. Comes and turns to go to Tori, and now she needs to buckle down and prepare for what seemingly is going to be the final battle.
This is where shit, like the music starts changing and getting more intense. I don't think it's at its most intense moment, though. I think that's going to be a little bit later. So Tori grabs her a shotgun, and she has bullets, and she like goes around the, kind of looking around real fast, and then she... into the police station, and then she ends up going underneath like one of the desks. But she had plenty of time, but it was freaky. Like, this was the moment where I was like, ooh, if I was in her shoes, I'd be freaked out, but I also wouldn't have hid underneath the desk. I would have at least been on the side, but like, I need to be able to run. I don't want to be stuck in this spot.
Looking like a school shooter kind of situation. But there was a point where he got right in front of her, and you could see, based on the camera angle that they did, that he saw her, and for some reason, he still just stood in front of it. And even from the angle, if you were where she was at, you could obviously fucking see her from where he was standing. They made it seem like he was like pretending like, "Ooh, I don't see you. Where you at? Oh, I'm gonna walk away. Boom, desk is thrown up. Fuck you, I was lying."
Yeah.
That was unnecessary suspense.
That's kind of like, that's honestly kind of like the Horrible Four with my character, and then, but yeah, that's, the whole, like, the misdirect, that's the word, the misdirect, but it's so forced. You're like, But then, like I said, she was loading up those shotgun shells too, for the longest time. Like, she should have done that shit beforehand.
Yeah, she was shaking a lot, right? Yeah, she was not ready. I mean, her being nervous and dropping something obviously adds to the, what's going to happen? She's not doing it on time. But at that point, yeah, he flips it up, picks that bitch up by her hair, is like holding her. And then I don't remember when they showed her grab the taser, but it was a long time ago. And only now at this point does she pull that bitch out, and then uses it on him. And honestly, I thought the taser was going to do it. I thought like, oh, this was the thing they showed her grab a long time ago, and now here it comes out of her handy-dandy tool belt, the one item that she grabbed that was totally irrelevant, probably because she was walking out in public, or maybe she was going to use the taser just in case that date with the guy went wrong. I don't remember what it was as to why she grabbed it or whatever the fuck. But there was just some reason earlier in the past that was irrelevant as to why she grabbed it.
No, I think she grabbed it in the jail cell or when she was at jail.
Oh, did she? While she was at the... Oh. For some reason, I'm feeling like she had grabbed it sooner, but either way, the taser was what she had used to stop Santa in his tracks, and at that point, I actually thought that was going to be the end of good old Santa Claus.
But the thing that pisses me off is Tori throws the taser down.
Yeah, stupid. So many things. At this point, dude, she does so many. She's breaking all the rules. She's not doing any finishers. She's doing one and dones at this point so many times. This is what I meant a long time ago by the movie got longer than you would expect. It felt longer than it was supposed to be because, boy, did they drag this Santa out. This dude stuck around until the end. Like he started losing skin, started losing hair. His face was falling apart. He was nothing but straight up green lazy beam eyeballs. Like it was looking real sketchy.
What was with those eyeballs? Like how come?
I don't know. I didn't like that either.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I just don't understand why they weren't there before. If they weren't on the robot, like I know that he's getting fallen apart and stuff, but what's the point of lasers if they actually aren't coming out of the fake eyes?
I wasn't a big fan of the laser eyes. I mean, maybe if they were like coming in and out because he was like getting defective, but it was like the one thing that was working the best about him was these scanner eyeballs that were, using this green infragreen light or whatever that was.
I thought about it for a second. I didn't hate it. It was different. I liked the way. I guess I would have rather have seen it like jump in and out once in a while a little bit more though. I don't know. I kind of like the lasers, but it just didn't make sense. But a lot of things here didn't make sense.
I mean, it added to like getting into his final form. Like he's changing. He's no longer old Santa. Now he's just a robot.
Yeah.
Which was fine. I definitely was down with that. I think I liked seeing him kind of grow into his was when it was like stripping away the too humanistic part of him because he wasn't creepy as a human. He was way fucking scarier to face as a robot. But she tries to make her escape now. She goes outside. She gets into the ambulance, kicks that baby off, starts to get away, and then Santa conveniently hops on the back of the ambulance and then works his way in through the back of the ambulance, which I actually thought was a pretty solid build-up as well. Because he was coming up behind her like that, and she was driving like kind of crazy, and he had to work his way trying to keep getting up to her.
Halloween H2O.
Never saw it, but if that's what it was, then what a ripoff.
Yep, pretty much same thing. That's all I thought of. But I mean, they did it well. It wasn't terrible, but it's been done.
Not so super duper original there, and you're kind of thinking like you really want a creative way of how they're going to take out Santa Claus if they've ramped it up to her being the last survivor and they're going on this final death match between the two of them. But then she ends up eventually getting back in the ambulance again and then fucking pushing this car onto him so that he's stuck on the ground.
Well, she brakes first.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right. Yeah, because she ends up going crazy and she puts on her seatbelt. And she drives and smashes into this car, and Santa ends up flying out the window and lands in front of this fucking car that she smashes into. And then she doubles down, smashes on the accelerator to push the car on top of him there. And then while he's stuck there, she gets out and she tries to light the gas tank, which I don't think you can just do that with a fucking lighter just next to a gas tank. She didn't grab like paper or anything. Like you'd need to soak it and all this shit. Like none of it. That didn't seem like that was possible. But she lit the car on fire. Car goes boom. You think Santa's gonna have a fiery death.
Isn't that when parts of his face start melting away and stuff?
Right. You're right. That's when he starts really getting into his real robot-y self. And now at this point, for some reason, she breaks into her own record store. Is like so fucking mentally not there that she just throws shit in, takes this box and smashes it into her own store until she can get inside.
But she didn't have a key. But I would have probably done that. I've been like, fuck it. At this point, I'm cold. I need to get in here.
Be like, it's my place. I'm just fucking coming inside.
But what does she do when she gets inside of her place?
Well, that's when we start to see all these green lasers coming out of Santa's eyeballs. And he starts to get up. And then she's in there and she lights another fucking joint. Another joint. Santa comes back and he's looking for her, and I kind of like some of those shots with him kind of creeping around, looking for her with the lasery eyes. And all of a sudden, she gets distracted and sees this sword that's hanging up, and she's like, you know what? Fuck, he's here. He's back again. Let me try something else. Grabs this goddamn sword, and what does she do? She just plunges it into him. He gets all sparkly and shit again. Whoa, maybe she did it. Stabbed into the mainframe. This is it. Again, he's going to be dead. Stabs him. But where the fuck did that? Because when he was walking up to her, there were like these sparks that went off before the thing that was in front of her moved, before she even stabbed him. But he wasn't like all sparky and shit. So there was like this weird spark explosion that prompted her to get up and then stab him, which, whatever. It didn't seem to do anything. That I didn't understand where those sparks came from. But yet again, the man bot does not fucking die. And unfortunately, I thought the war was over. I literally even wrote in the book at this point, the war is over. It's got to be over. And then he's back again, I put, for Christ's sakes. She goes to a whole bunch of phones. It's like in the building if one phone wasn't fucking working.
I just don't understand, because she walks into the place. She wants to smoke her joint before she can... before she even calls. And then that's when he comes in. Like, she calls after she's already tried to take him down once in her store. And then she goes to go to the phone, and then they do their brawl and throws her down. Looks pretty rough. But don't forget, gets her fingers cut off.
That's right around the corner. And I think that maybe they were trying to use her settling down and smoking a joint as if to symbolize, like, okay, it's over. And then taking that away from you, you know, because she's like trying to take a moment to chill. And then they're like, oh, nope, just kidding. Can't chill.
Well, we didn't think it was over. We knew it wasn't over.
No, probably not. Only because it didn't feel like it ramped up to this big victorious death or anything, or like very sad she ends up dying death or whatever the fuck that it is.
It's never over.
See. Oh, so then they, you know, shit ramps up, gets into another tussle. She ends up falling back and ends up spraining her ankle or breaking it, but I guess she probably couldn't have, because she definitely got back up and it looked much worse than what it was. You'd think that it did.
Oh, she definitely broke it. It was like blood and shit was coming out.
It looked messy, but for some reason that wasn't enough.
That's not enough to keep that girl down.
Then inevitably, you know, we had to ramp it up a little bit more. We had to, if we're going in, we got to be going in. And they definitely, they came down on it, because he just took that axe and he chopped off every last one of those fingers on her right hand. Gone. All nubbed out. All axe hole. What an axe hole. Just and that actually looked good. All the nubs on the hand and stuff like that. That looked really good and gross. And they were moving around real smooth.
I wasn't expecting him to do that to her. I was like, oh shit.
No, I didn't expect her to really have any loss like that whatsoever.
No.
So that was real personal. She was freaking out. It's not enough to like instantly kill you, but enough to freak you out and make things super intense and heighten things even further. And then it kind of turns into this weird crawling match where like Robot Santa's on the ground and he's crawling and she's crawling. And she finally gets up and she starts ripping these pipes out of the wall. And once again, thinks that it's going to ramp up to this big finale where I thought she was like going to stab him again. But then she takes the wiring from the walls, plugs it into his ass, and he gets all sparked out. And still, again, that wasn't enough. It's like she never went for a final blow. She kept thinking she was doing these big, crazy things to it, and that would be enough. That's it. But this is like time 4 or 5 now, and she still hasn't learned her fucking lesson. I'm surprised at this point she didn't light up another joint and just sit on his chest and just be surprised that he fucking shoots his robot fingers up her ass.
For real, though, it got so monotonous. Like, so monotonous. I think at one point I was like, come on. Just kill him. Like, let's go. But this is when she sets the garbage on fire.
The whole thing, the wires eventually ended up being the thing that did take him out. Ended up being this huge explosion.
Oh, that is the one.
Yeah.
But did you mention the fire? You didn't mention the sprinklers shocking them.
When she falls, that's the part that I had missed, was she falls and sprains her ankle after setting this little basket on fire and bringing it up to the fire alarm and setting off the sprinklers, which was like, oh, he's getting all shocked because the water's a good idea with the electricity to fuck him up. And that didn't do shit either. But this big sparks at the end where she actually used the electricity running to the building and plugged it into him was, in the end, almost enough to kill him. But what ended up happening again, which I actually liked, was even though he didn't have any energy left to finally stand up, he still tilted his body up just enough to look at her menacingly. Even though he knew he couldn't move, there was still this rage inside the robot that wanted to kill her so badly, even though he couldn't move an inch. There was something about that that I liked and was kind of heavy, that he didn't get up, but there was still enough left in him that he just looked at her and was like, fuck you. If I could move right now, I would chop off every last one of those phalanges.
It was pretty good. It was a very effective, like, little last minute.
But it just didn't seem victorious because, there was just something about her using the electricity the way that she did to kill him that didn't feel personal enough. The fucking guy killed everyone. Literally everyone that she knows and is surrounded by, and she just used power to kill him instead of I wanted her to finally take the axe from him and literally go on some crazy fucking chopping spree on him until he literally twitched and then stopped twitching and shut off or something.
That's honestly how it should have. It really should have been something like that, because it was anticlimactic. But the problem is they kept on taking it away from us, so we lost our excitement because we never know. Like, we knew it was done at that point, but it wasn't like, oh, do we? I don't know.
Right. Exactly. So, unfortunately, that is the way that it went. Clearly, you weren't the happiest about it either. And that pretty much is the end of the movie. All it did from that point on was just kind of drag on with her feeling kind of fucking weird. And she ends up laying on the ground outside and she's like laughing.
It was very Rob Zombie looking, like Halloween remake shot.
Yeah, she was like fucking just, everything's fucked up. And this is like pretty much just showing that she snapped, she broke, and she's not crying. She's not angry. She's just laughing and lost it. And then it turns into a still shot of her and goes to the end credits. And that, my friend, is a fucking end to the newest movie review of season 2, baby. We did it.
We did it. High five, my dude.
We got to the end of a movie, and actually that went pretty smooth. I feel like the way we went about it that time was a lot better. So, Dylan, now that we finally made it through and trekked through this film, please do me the kindness of hitting me with your final thoughts, your conclusionary thoughts, as I have said mistakenly in the past episodes.
We were trying to pick a movie that we didn't really know. Like, we wanted to get something done this week. Like, we really wanted to do something this week, and we really didn't know what to pick, and it was kind of last minute. And since it's around Christmas time, we're like, let's just do this one. We really kind of ran out of ideas. Didn't realize how small this one was, like, popularity wise. I guess you didn't really hear much about it, so we'll see how many people listen. But I enjoyed it. I think that the beginning, like I was saying, it's slow. There's some poor decision making, some kind of acting isn't always the best, but for being a lower budget film, it's bigger than you think. The music's a lot of fun. Then it's just like a fun, badass, like Santa killing movie. It really is Silent Night, Deadly Night, like in its own twist. So it's fun. I mean, I recommend it, but not for everyone. But I would say, for the same things I said before, people who like horror movies or like to talk about like the rock music or just like Christmas and don't really care what kind of Christmas movie it is. It feels like Christmas movie. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Perfect, man. So then tell me, what is your rating in popcorn buckets?
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
I went back and forth for a while, and I was like, does this one deserve this, or does this deserve this? And compared to some of the other ones I've done, I'm trying not to compare my ratings too much to some of the other things I've done, and I don't want to... My ratings, I'm trying not to like let it teeter too much on like what the budget was like, or who was in it, or things like that. I'm trying to just enjoyment-wise, but I kind of have to put that other stuff into effect a little bit. You have to, like, a lower budget deserve, like a say like a 1 in a lower budget, like it's so bad, might not, like a 1 in a like a good like a big movie would be better probably at a 1 than a 1 at a low budget. But something you have to like take into effect. So I went back and forth from yesterday till today thinking about it, and I think I'm going to just stick with this this number, especially when you said it, kind of like doing the back and forth rope pull. I felt stuck in the middle, so I'm going to go with 5 empty popcorn buckets.
Boom, 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 boom.
So, Joe, tell me, what is your final thoughts?
Oh, man. My final thoughts were, I think at the end of the day, no matter what I have to say about this movie, I cannot deny that it is worth a watch. You know, if you have other shit to watch or there's something new that came out that's looking awesome or you're feeling like you're in the mood for something that is going to change movies for the rest of your life, I'm going to be like everybody else and say the words, this isn't the movie for you. Because it really is mostly, you know, as a lot of horror movies, you kind of have to go into it just expecting to have a little bit of fun. And I think if a horror movie delivers on the fun, most of the time it's still worth watching, even though you could knit and pick at it for days, because that's just the nature of what comes with the film. You know, that's not what they're mostly focusing on, and apparently that's not really what we should be focusing on either. But with that being said, now that I prefaced with that, there's so many things about this movie that got under my skin, or I thought was just a wasted opportunity, or they just took, you know, there were chances that got set up for, you know, possibly changing the game, or, you know, just because there's a lot of things that they were playing off of or paying homage to, or, you know, kind of playing back and referencing to things, they still had plenty of opportunities to really make this their own. And if I wasn't so pleasantly surprised by how brutal some of the killings were, I might not have even been too impressed with a lot of that. Because as I went along through most of this, once again, it just proves to show that I felt correctly about the beginning of it, even after talking through it now, with the whole tug-of-war aspect where there were parts that got me pumped and there were parts that let me down, but they were so interwoven. You know, you didn't get stuck sitting on a shit moment for too long before they gave you something to kind of make you forgive it. And so that's the part where they really came through and they gave you a half-decent movie that was fun to sit down with some friends and hopefully not get too distracted by all the fuck words, and make it through comfortably and enjoy some, you know, some brutal killings, a bullshit RoboCop, Santa Claus, and some, you know, kind of wild references that are very niche, and if you had no idea what they were talking about, you could almost get lost and lose interest, you know, kind of right away, where, you know, this is kind of the part where you need to be caring enough about these people that when shit hits the fan later, that it's going to do something to you, because you're feeling like, okay, I know these people and shit's happening to them and I want them to survive and I'm rooting for them. Because when you're watching a horror movie, you got to root for somebody. You know, in any movie, honestly, there's always somebody they're trying to get you to set up to root for, you know, the underdog or the survivor or whatever it may be. And I don't know, man. I had fun watching it, but I mean, this is just one of those movies that I could pick it apart all day, and you know, when somebody asks me how it is, I'm going to accidentally go into all the nitpicky stuff before I tell them it's fun to watch by accident, you know, where it's like, oops, I think I just gave a really bad recommendation for a movie that could still be fun to watch. I think that it was fun. I think it was money well spent for the most part. Well, obviously we couldn't find a budget, so maybe I could be wrong. Maybe they spent a little bit too much money on, hopefully, and I hope they do well. I love Shudder's opening logo. I think like how that clip that comes in the beginning, I think that's really cool. I never heard that before. It's real spooky. I hope that it gets well received enough that they want to keep trying and keep giving this Joe guy a chance, because there's definitely some things in his vision that I enjoyed. You know what I mean? I don't know what their limitations were. I don't know what their restrictions were, or what they were able to do, or what they had to cut, or what they couldn't keep. There's so much shit that we'll never know. But overall, you could still see that, you know, I think that there's some shit to appreciate about the way that Joe directed and filmed this and went about structuring it. There were just some things that got a little poopy throughout the mix that was just kind of wishy-washy, and, you know, it just maybe comes down to a little bit more of an opinionated stance on how you would have liked the movie to go. It doesn't necessarily make the movie a bad movie. It just makes you go, what the fuck, sometimes. And with that being said, that long-winded fucking final response there is probably like fucking 3.5 minutes long or something stupid. I'd have to say, I hope not. I'll fucking cut it in half. With that being said, I suppose I do have to rate this movie, and it's tough because I put Army of the Dead at 5, and I did have a lot of fun with Army of the Dead, and just, you know, as far as like directing goes, obviously Zack Snyder's got better chops than this guy, and I did enjoy it and appreciate it. And I think that pretty much everything that I rated under 5, I think that this is above it. So I think the most fair thing that I can do here in this situation is I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. Wow. Okay.
Hear ye.
It was still pretty close to what I, thought. Honestly, I thought you were going to go with 5 as well. But I was kind of with the whole Army of the Dead. I was going back and forth because I'm like, I knew I gave that a 5. But I still had a lot of fun with this one. And like I said, kind of putting a little bit of money into perspective. If it had the same budget.
Army of the Dead had a way bigger budget.
Way, way bigger. I bet you if he had that budget to do something like that, he probably could have, if you would have taken that movie and made it really big budget.
No way they could have afforded LiDAR.
What did I call it before?
LIDAR.
Oh, that's just so stupid. That's embarrassing. I'm sure everything I say is embarrassing. It comes back. I listen to myself. I'm like, oh. But yeah, that was it.
That was fun, man. I'm glad that we did that.
Christmas, Bloody Christmas. Yeah.
Because this was definitely a movie that when you're watching it and you're hanging out and you're spending time with each other, you're seeing it and you're getting excited and you're going back and forth and you're getting in the moment. And then it gets to the point where you think it's going to be over and it never stops. And it keeps going. And sometimes in life, there are moments where you never want it to end. But at some point, I would say it's fair to say at this movie that I wanted it to end. Unlike this podcast, because I never want this podcast to end. But there's only one way to end a podcast like this. There's only one way. It's the same way we've done it for 9 episodes before this. And it is to remind you our name, our stance, our proud motion, our voice, our tribe. Us together, Dylan Huffman and Joe Blum, make the creation of this podcast that we call Don't Spill the Popcorn.
You're delayed for me on here, but that's okay.
Piss on my ass. Piss on it. All right, so what was I going to say? Fuck.
Oh, yeah, the last time I
Oh, yeah. When was your... Yeah, in your lifetime, because everyone has a good fucking spit take in their life.
I feel like recently. What? I feel like I actually do that a lot more now that I'm older than when I was younger. I'm like, how do people do that? That's stupid. And now I'm like... And all the jokes were probably something I've said myself, and I'm like, that was so funny, and no one else is laughing.
Dun 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 dun. When I came up to him, he was chugging Mountain Dew in my bathroom, and I fucking put 3 fucking butter knives in my fucking hand and went up to his neck and said, I'm motherfucking Wolverine. and he just spewed Mountain Dew everywhere, out of his nose, out of his eyeballs, out of his fucking mouth. It came out of his fucking nipples. It was crazy. He spewed everywhere. But he did the same exact thing to me with fucking plastic knives. And it was like years later. We'd never talked about it in such a long time.
We finally put out our first porno. I'm not good with words in my life anymore. Sometimes I like to, when I come home from work after a really long day and I'm holding in farts all day, I'll take a bowl of water and I'll a bowl and I'll fill it up with water and I just sit my naked ass on there and I just fart and just let it I'm like, look at this. Look at what I'm doing.
And you take slow-mo videos on your iPhone of the water rippling. I put 12th on my thing. 12th and 10th turned into 20th. I literally turned into Mike Tyson.
Oh, I almost forgot that. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Doesn't matter. My reading just sucks. Red leather, yellow leather? That's probably a young person thing, that TLDR. We're too old.
Maybe. Fucking tickle little dicks.
You can't say that. All of that was just no. All of it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. There's so many times where I've been pissed, where I've listened to a podcast and like one dude cuts off the other dude and he doesn't get to complete his thought.
I would
and then
definitely
it
be
gets
one of those
completely
people
derailed
when I
and then it
listen to
just
podcasts.
disappears. They never come back to
thought.
it.
All I keep thinking is, are they going to go back to it? What's going to happen? What was their thought? Like, I want to know, so you can't,
we had shit to finish.
Dude, I almost ran out of my house today. Like, bad.
Hold on. Police officer number 1.
No, that's it. That's all I had to say.
Oh, okay. That's not good. Holy shit. Breaking news.
I did scratch a little bit, but that's fine. Okay.
Whoops.
You make it sound so legit. I'm just like, I want to talk. And you're just like, and then. I'm just like, yeah, so then, sure. And then, what did I do? Did I fuck it up?
I don't
Do
know.
yours again.
We were doing it at the same time. Dun 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 dun. Queef.
Cunnilingus. Fellatio's the sucking of the lean.